And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Joseph. And Joseph writes, it looks like James Gunn isn't wasting any time after he gets Suicide Squad out there. A person asked him on Twitter when he was going to start shooting Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and he said, this year. I have to guess that they've already been doing at least a little pre-production while he was making Suicide Squad to be ready to shoot this year. But what do you think of this? And are you still interested in the franchise? Thanks. All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in. And listen, you're right. I was surprised to hear James Gunn say that they are going to start shooting Guardians of the Galaxy this year. And I'll tell you why I was surprised. It's not just the Suicide Squad thing. Because normally a director, he's going to wrap up what he's doing. Suicide Squad's been in the can, but the directors are always going to tinker with it while they've got time. That movie's coming out soon. So then you figure all the pre-production, whatever, and maybe start shooting. But it's not just that. Because James Gunn doesn't go from Suicide Squad to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. He's got that damn Peacemaker show he's also doing that he's got to get running. And that's the immediate thing that he's doing after Suicide Squad. However, it sounds like James Gunn has been juggling like 5 or 6 balls in the air at the same time. This comes to us from the folks over at Joe Blow, who writes, James Gunn is currently in the midst of production on Peacemaker, a spinoff of the Suicide Squad. So he's tinkering with Suicide Squad and actively in production on Peacemaker right now. A spinoff of the Suicide Squad, which focuses on John Cena's character. So he'll have to complete that project before turning his sights on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But Gunn did drop a follow-up tweet to tease the sequel. Our designers and visual development geniuses are busy creating new fantastic designs of other worlds and alien beings, Gunn wrote. I'm not sure the galaxy is big enough for all this magic. This one is huge. I'm excited. So basically what they're saying here is James Gunn is just putting the final bows and last little bit of makeup on Suicide Squad and trying to promote Suicide Squad and doing some press engagements while he is also already involved in production on this HBO series Peacemaker with John Cena. And then he hops into another room, jumps on Zoom, and starts talking to all of his pre-production crew that is already actively in pre-production with design and things like that for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. This is insane. Now, listen, some people confuse things, say, oh, yeah, well, Samuel L. Jackson shoots 18 movies in a year. It's totally different for an actor. An actor, you just fly in, walk onto set, go into your trailer, wait till they call you out. I'm not trying to undermine the work of actor. It's too bad Aaron's not here right now. But, you go and you shoot your role. You're there for 6, 7, 8 weeks, and then you leave. The directors, Rob, you've told me this before, like a director, your life is kind of tied up for 2 years, sometimes 3 years or more on a single project. This guy is wrapping up Suicide Squad. He's in production of Peacemaker, and he's doing pre-production of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and then he's going to go into shooting Guardians of the Galaxy 3 for this thing to come out next year. This sounds, Rob, tremendously ambitious. And it sounds like, you can describe James Gunn in a lot of ways, but lazy ain't one of them. Lazy is clearly not one of them. And listen, I'll tell you what. Look, I was not the biggest fan in the world. I was not the biggest fan in the world at all of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I liked it. I liked Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I did think it was a significant step down from the magnificence of the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I know a lot of other people really love Guardians 2, and that's great, but I thought it was a step backwards. So I am really excited to see James Gunn get back on this and go back to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I love the characters. I know that the Russos consulted with James with how to use the Guardians characters in Infinity War and Endgame, and they were used brilliantly in those things. I'm looking forward to visiting these characters again. And of course, Rob, we're going to get to see them in Thor, Love and Thunder. We're going to get to see a number of these characters in Thor, Love and Thunder as well. But Rob, anyway, you hear this. Guardians going into production this year. James Gunn working on, to certain degrees, some greater, some lesser, 3 different projects at the same time. What stands out to you most about this, and where's your anticipation level for Guardians 3 right now?
Well, I'm a huge fan of both Guardians movies. I like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 a lot more than most. I found the emphasis on broken families sort of interesting, and I really responded to it. But I think somebody who's as creative as James Gunn is, and knowing, like, you and I, we work on multiple projects at the same time. And I think, I think James Gunn realizes he's at a phase in his life where he's in a position to be as productive as he wants to be, really. And I'm sure that when he was making Suicide Squad, he probably had a lot of ideas that came to him, and like he was probably going home at night after even spending 12 hours a day shooting and maybe going to the edit bay. Maybe he was up for 16, 17, 18 hours. I'll bet he went home and was like putting pen to paper, writing that script. But he'd written the whole script before, I think, for Guardians 3, but still probably
that is
changing
a key part. Like the script, before he got let go from Disney, they had because remember, that was a big part of the story. They had fired James Gunn, but Alan Horn's like, yeah, we're still going to use this Guardians of the Galaxy 3 script. I mean, which is fair. They owned it, but yeah, so that was a key point.
Yeah, and development's going on. You've got Marvel, they're developing things, they're building set pieces, they're creating animatics. So James Gunn, I mean, he's probably consulting through this whole process. And work continues. You get previs, you make notes, you send it back, and Marvel's got a very well-oiled machine there. I think James Gunn they already had his script, they already had his vision, they know what he would be doing. He can just slide right in, and he's got this incredible machine there to support him. So I think it absolutely can be done. And I'm excited. I think when you have two studios, when you're working for two studios, man, you ride that wave. There's no you don't go, I'm too tired, I can't. No. As a filmmaker, if you take siestas every couple hours for a year, you'll make it work. He's living the dream, man, in a big way. And I don't think there's any way he's going to let that slip through his fingers or let the quality slip. He's in a great position that few directors have ever found themselves in. So go, James Gunn, go.
Yeah, and you know what? It is premature to say this. I acknowledge that it's a little bit premature to say this, but because we haven't seen Suicide Squad yet, I've loved the trailers we've seen. I've loved them.
Yeah.
I loved what they showed us at that little sizzle they showed us at DC Fandom. I thought that was great too.
It looked bananas. It's huge. That movie's huge.
Maybe the movie will suck, maybe, and so I acknowledge this might be a little bit premature. I really do hope though that Suicide Squad is at least close to as good as we hope it'll be.
Me too.
But B, while I love that James Gunn is going back to do Guardians of the Galaxy, I am, and I want him to. I really hope he does come back then to DC and do another film with them. I would love, and I don't know how realistic this is, but probably very unrealistic, but I would love to see him start alternating movies. I would love to see him do a movie with Marvel, go back over, do a movie with DC, come back over, do a movie with Marvel. If for no other reason, it really does quell the whole, zombie Marvel slave fanboys and the DC, slave fanboys, the war between them when they've got, it's like Romeo and Juliet had a kid, and now, the two families have got to get along because they share a relative, right? And I don't know, I would love to see that. Now, I acknowledge it's probably unlikely. Both sides would probably want him, hey, look, we've got you working on this franchise. We want you focused on this franchise. Probably both sides would want that. But Rob, do you think there's any chance that James Gunn can just work out and say, look, I am going to alternate films. I'm going to do a film in the MCU. I'm going to do a film in the DC, and I'm going to alternate. Do you think this, or is that just a total fantasy pipe dream of mine? What do you think?
No, I don't think it is, because that's what he's doing right now. He's already doing that, and I think that if Suicide Squad is a $1 billion grossing film, Warner Brothers is not going to want him to just disappear and go back to Marvel. I see that, it's interesting. Just because both movies are dealing with superheroes and are within universes, you're still working for different companies. It's still work for hire. He's not under any obligation, or he's not under a contract with Marvel. And also, they already like Suicide Squad so much that they move forward with a Peacemaker show that he's the executive producer and probably the creator of. So he's in business with Warner Brothers for the long term. At least in the near term, for the long term. And I mean, he's got a movie coming out and a TV series. So he's more ensconced in a way with Warner Brothers moving forward right now than he is over with Disney. Because Guardians of the Galaxy 3 might be the end of his tenure there. I would imagine not if it does really well, but you never know. And in this case, James Gunn's killing it, crushing.
Now let's not forget too that prior to his departure from Disney and all the controversy surrounding that, he wasn't just making Guardians of the Galaxy. He had kind of been elevated within Marvel to kind of be Kevin Feige's main galactic level MCU main kind of overseer, right? So he was taking on a larger role in the MCU overall, and then everything fell apart. So it's going to be interesting to see if maybe they reinstate that sort of part for him too. Or if Warner Brothers offers him like, hey, we want to make you Hamada's right-hand man. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where they go with this. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? That all this stuff that Gunn's doing right now, but it looks like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is actually going into production this year. When I heard that he was doing Peacemaker next, I thought there's no way this movie's going to start shooting until at least 2022, but they're going to start shooting this year. What do you guys think about that? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.